Hello guys, welcome to Top Anime Sensei. This video is the continuation video after Ultima and Kara's spat. So if you have not watched it, then please watch it. The link is in the description. So without any further delay, let's start. But before we start, please like, subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. He was brimming with enthusiasm, not because of something fun and sweet such as a date, but about the thought that he was going to give them a thorough scolding. He took advantage of the fact that you couldn't die in the labyrinth and beat them up without mercy. Yet it appeared that they hadn't learned their lesson at all. On the contrary, they were rather eager to fight Diablo. Why are the demons so bellicose? Personally, I couldn't keep up with them. While I was having a brief chat with Benimaru, Diablo suddenly came in, looking utterly exhausted. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting." "Oh, thanks for the hard work," I replied. No, it's barely enough to warrant calling it hard work. It's just that my time with Rimuru-sama you don't seem tired, so let's get down to business. Alright, well, if you can spare the energy to talk nonsense, then I suppose you're okay. Diablo wanted to say something, but it'd just wind up being his usual soliloquy anyway. Putting that aside, Benimaru and I decided to start today's meeting. As I had mentioned before, the number of immigrants to our country had grown. And when that happened, the problem of work allocation to those newly immigrated naturally arose. The employment rate was very important, just like with any other country. This was because if we wished to increase the nation's productivity, then each and every citizen needed to work diligently. If the employment rate was good, then consumer spending would naturally rise, and the economy would improve as well. On the other hand, if it was bad, then the economy would deteriorate, and crime would naturally increase. It was the role of the national leadership to properly manage the task. But obviously, this was exceedingly difficult. There were individual differences in the abilities of the immigrants we accepted, and there was a limit to the amount of unskilled labor that could be assigned to anyone. Our country was still in development, and the onrush of construction work in various locations had kept us afloat. But even that was drawing to a close, and now the question of what do we do from here was in the air. Skilled laborers had no problems. If you were an experienced craftsman, or someone with enough personal talent to earn a living, then it was an easy question to answer. The problem was those who lacked the knowledge and means to make money. If you were a farmer, then we could grant you farmland. If you were a craftsman, then we could introduce you to a workshop. If you were an adventurer, then the labyrinth was the perfect place. And if you were an actor, then you could be hired by theaters. Still, what about people who did not possess any such talents? The solution I came up with was to establish an education center. At the time of immigration, they'd be asked what they could do, and based on their answer, they would be taught accordingly. The education center would serve that purpose, and it was going to be operated by the military under Benimaru. The number of immigrants continues to grow, and there are a lot of people applying for the military. Whether or not they'd be useful is another issue, but at the very least, I believe they could manage being assigned to domestic security. We'd been trying to solve the immigration problem, yet it seemed that there were even more people coming in. If you join the army, you can earn a living. You can also learn skills for free, and even get a job. This was the rumor being spread around. As a result, the number of people joining the military gradually increased, which not only included ordinary immigrants, but adventurers and mercenaries alike. Well, as long as our country was responsible for the defense of the Western nations, building up our armed forces was a crucial task. For that reason, there were no difficulties for now. While minor complications did arise, those had been at a level that could be resolved within the military. The bigger problem was that war with the Empire was becoming a reality. Obviously, there was no way we could send people who had just been enlisted the day before into combat, so we were forced to reorganize our forces. And so, I had ordered Benimaru to submit a proposal for consolidating our military. He brought forth a single sheet of paper and placed it on the table. This is the new organizational structure that I've come up with. Some of the personnel changes are a little bold, but I think this will work. Benimaru held military command authority, whereas Supreme Command Authority, which included the right to appoint individuals into positions, rested with me. It was a little complicated originally. Military Command Authority was included in Supreme Command Authority. Now, Military Command was separated and given to Benimaru. This was due to my belief that an amateur like myself shouldn't interfere with the command of the military. Therefore, Benimaru was entrusted with all matters related to the military. With this setup, Benimaru's orders took precedence over mine within the army. However, strategic command was a different story. I had the power to designate the upper echelon of the military, or to make the decision to end any war we were currently engaged in. Benimaru was free to nominate anyone below the rank of general, but the establishment of corps, or the appointment of generals, was left to my discretion. He still needed a confirmation from me on whether or not the organization chart that he drew up was acceptable. If you're okay with it, then I don't have any objections, even if I didn't plan on complaining. There might be some things I wanted to say. After all, I would be the one responsible if something went wrong, as long as I had the authority to make appointments. Nonetheless, we had already debated numerous times regarding the new organizational structure. I wasn't going to complain or anything. It was already too late for that. And the personnel I kept pushing for until the very end was 1st Corps Commander Gobta. I wasn't too convinced when I first heard about the idea of designating Gobta as a general, but now I think he'll be a good fit. As you can see from Benimaru's reply, there were pros and cons to having Gobta become a general. Indeed, the thought of giving that idiot, Gobta, responsibilities of a leader was worrisome. It was only natural that Benimaru and his staff were anxious, since the lives of Gobta's subordinates would be entrusted to his judgment. Given that he was someone who often slept during meetings, it wasn't like I didn't have any reservations either. That said, I also knew very well of the fact that Gobta had been secretly undergoing special training, and that he was trying his best because he wanted to protect this country. Right, he's a man that pulls through when it counts, I said. Although, when it doesn't, he does absolutely nothing. But, well, Gobta's men trusted him a lot, and he was also quite good at looking out for them. I had faith in Gobta. He's one of the 4 heavenly kings, so he will never betray your expectations, Shion declared. That's right, and we will send Testarossa as an inspector so she can make up for any shortcomings, just in case, Diablo added. The two of them both supported Gobta as their co-member in the 4 heavenly kings. When you put it that way, even I can't say no as the head of the 4 heavenly kings, Benimaru added with a bitter smile. He must have acknowledged Gobta. Diablo is certainly correct. He then added, if anything happens, we can support him. Let's give him the job. It'll be okay. He may not look it, but his heart is in the right place. Thus, Benimaru and I decided to make Gobta a general. I took a closer look at the organizational structure in order to review the other corps leaders beside Gobta. There was a total of 3 new corps to be established under Benimaru's direct command. The aforementioned 1st Corps, with Gobta assigned as commander and Hakuryu as the military advisor, would have the following soldiers: 100 goblin riders. Each member had grown to the level of rank A- and possessed the competence to be a centurion. 12,000 green numbers. The 4,000 initial men became senior soldiers, and would take command of the 8,000 newly hired junior soldiers. They would work in teams of 3. The number of troops had increased significantly over the past year, but most of them were monsters from the Great Jira Forest. As a result, they were able to operate without any major problems. Although the junior soldiers were only rank C to D, the senior soldiers had grown to the equivalent of rank B. It seemed like we could expect them to be a considerable force. Following that was the 2nd Corps. Geld became the commander for this one. This 2nd Corps, however, was currently active in various places as a construction unit. In wartime, it would be recalled and become Tempest's main force. The soldiers under Geld's command were 2,000 yellow numbers. They were high orc warriors who followed Geld from the start. Their individual strength was considerably high at rank B+, allowing them to create an iron wall defense by uniting with Geld. Furthermore, they also took the role of platoon leaders that commanded the new troops. 35,000 orange numbers, the newer high orcs that had joined as enlisted soldiers. They were a unit around C rank in strength, but only 15,000 veterans would be involved in combat. The remaining 20,000 would serve as logistical support or military engineers. And lastly, we had the 3rd Corps. The aerial cavalry unit was finally being put into action as a secret weapon. The commander of this particular corps was Gabble, its original founder. The soldiers under his command were 100 Hiryu. They were the most powerful unit within Tempest. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you guys have not watched my other videos, then please watch them. The links are in the description. And don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates.